So, did you see the remake of Robocop this weekend? Well, if the box office totals are anything to go by, you probably did not. I'd like to think that the bottomed-out ticket sales are the result of the movie sucking, and the audience realizing that, but it's more likely a case that the movie never looked all that good to begin with, and Robocop's brand name just doesn't have the cachet that it used to. Which isn't all that surprising, given that without exaggeration, everything related to Robocop since the first movie, other than that pretty awesome arcade game, well, has been kinda terrible. But for a moment there, back in the 80s and a bit of the 90s, Robocop was everywhere. Not so much in the official product, but in influence. The original movie was so popular, it quickly became one of the most ripped-off movies ever. Some of that was the title. It was pretty easy to just stick the word Robo in front of another word and tell audiences, hey, this is going to be kind of similar to Robocop. But also, the basic look of one humanoid robot killing bad guys was pretty affordable to replicate. You gotta spend some money to rip off something like Star Wars, but Robocop, one guy in a robot costume, and it's kinda okay if you can tell it's a costume, that's not too expensive, really. A lot of these knockoffs originated in Japan, Hong Kong, and the South Pacific, which isn't really surprising given that Robocop looks visually very similar to characters from Toei's Metal Heroes tokusatsu series from Japan that have always been popular throughout that region. In fact, one of the earliest examples of that genre was Robotokaichi, or Robot Detective, in the 1970s, and the designers of Robocop's suit specifically cited 1982's Space Sheriff Gavan as a major influence. So in 1988, Toei returned that favor with Mobile Cop Japan, which was your basic Metal Hero show but made to visually reference Robocop as much as possible. Damn, but these things all have catchy theme songs. Also from Japan, 1990's Lady Battle Cop. Yep, that's a lady battle cop alright. Meanwhile, Hong Kong, which actually wasn't big on sci-fi in the 80s for a number of reasons, borrowed the shiny robot with human face look for the bizarre action romance buddy comedy I Love Maria, which was for obvious reasons retitled Robo Force elsewhere in the world. In this one, a crook who gets kicked out of his gang for being too nice teams up with a cop who got kicked out of being a cop for being too nice. And they find a sexy robot girl who's actually a robot duplicate of the gang leader's girlfriend that they reprogram to be good and fight the gang's other bigger robot. There were Canadian and American knockoffs too, like Rotor and Vindicator, and Italy gave us Robo War, which is actually a Predator knockoff but with soldiers fighting a Robocop instead of an alien. That sounds awesome, but it's not. The most notorious, though, is probably still Robo Vampire, which despite the title is sort of actually about a robot who fights vampires rather than a robot who is also a vampire itself, but you get the idea. Production is credited to the infamous Hong Kong auteur Godfrey Ho, best known for those bizarre 80s ninja movies the internet rediscovered a few years back. In this one, a Hong Kong drug cartel has hired a Taoist priest to make them a team of vampires to act as hired muscle. The novelty here is that these guys are Zhengxi, or traditional Chinese vampires, who have stiffened joints, wear dynastic burial robes, and jump from place to place rather than walking. Remember Pianpi from Super Mario Land? Yeah, that's what he was supposed to be. Zhengxi are an important element of traditional folklore throughout much of China, but to be honest, they've always ended up looking kind of silly in live-action movies. Yeah. They've also got a vampire beast, which is basically a Zhengxi with a gorilla head and a weird subplot about the priest being harassed by a female ghost who claims to be the beast's former girlfriend. This movie is weird.
Peter, I'll still love you forever!
Anyway, a soldier they send to fight the vampires gets killed, and they rather nonchalantly decide to turn his body into a cyborg, which, you know what, I'm just gonna let you watch.
So how's Tom?
It was a fatal wound. He's dead.
Since Tom's dead, I want to make use of his body to create an android-like robot, Mr. Glenn. I would appreciate your approving my application. Are you assured of success? Mm-hmm.
No, really though, that's the robot. Ah, good times. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.